The van build you're going to see now is what we would call here in Cornwall a proper job.
Hey, welcome to our 2006 Sprinter conversion van. We bought this about 6 months ago, it had 80,000 miles on it. We stripped it bare and we built it all out ourselves.
Hi, I'm Callan.
I'm Meghan.
And I'm from New Zealand.
I'm from the Pacific Northwest.
Behind us we have a 2006 Dodge Sprinter that we're going to convert into a mobile tiny home. This is the inside of our van. So, nice and clean so far. And ready to start insulation and framing. Previous to the van being in this state, the floor of the original van was a plywood floor. It was a bit messy, we didn't need it, and we also want to seal the floor and insulate before we put our own floor down. So what I've done is remove the old flooring, and where the old holes used to be, I've installed washers and seal to make sure we cover up all the holes. Though the vehicle itself was in really good condition, the back two doors were pretty beaten up on the inside from the van's previous life as a delivery van. So we've replaced a bunch of stuff. So we've gone and replaced the hinges, made sure they're brand new. The seal around the outside of the door is new. The top and bottom catch plates, which are what the bars in this door catch, they've been replaced. We also have all new locks, handles, and a center seal on the middle of this door as well. So Meghan has just cut me a whole bunch of these flashing tape strips. We're going to line these all the way along the floor just to create a really nice moisture barrier and just to seal up the floor a little bit more. Meghan finally found where the mysterious rat might be coming from.
Yeah, these little parts. Hang on. Wait for it. Let's go. Yes! So we have just finished putting down our moisture barrier. So this is the first level of the flooring. Next is packing sheets. So you can see there are all these ridges up and down the van. So packing will go in between those ridges so you have a nice flat surface when you put the insulation sheets down.
Yes! Already packed, we're already sealed, insulation has been cut, and now we just need to finish off the rest of these plywood sheets and then we are good to go.
So far we've seen the moisture barrier, the packers, the insulation, and now the sheets. And the reason I've left them floating at the moment is because we're going to go through, pre-drill these and bolt them down to the lower frame of the van. And when we do this, we get all our holes ready to go, we're going to lift everything back up, quickly glue all of the packers in position, and then relay the insulation. Around the edge, I will then foam, expanding foam, just to make a really nice, solid insulation sealed barrier. And then we'll put this down on top and do the final bolt. And when we put everything in position that way, it'll hold everything down, the glue will set, and it should all be really nice. Now over here behind the driver's seat, I have left an empty space. And this is because we're gonna have a shower pan in here for our bathroom. And I would like to achieve maximum height possible. At the moment, between the roof and the floor, we have 6 feet. So I don't want to lose the insulation, the flooring, and then put a shower pan on top. Beneath the van is where we're going to start by drilling the holes up through these ribs so that we can get the bolts through and tie down the flooring. I have 2 drill bits here, one for a pilot hole and then one for the right size hole for the bolt to get through. And then from there we will seal the hole with some spray just to make sure any cut edges of steel don't get rusty. Now from the top, we're gonna make our hole the right size. So I have here a speed bit, and I put some tape around to help me with what depth to go to. And this is gonna be deep enough to receive both the head of the nut below the floor and the T-bracket. Now that I have my 2 rear T-bolts in, I can use them as a reference to figure out where the next ones are. So I can measure off this, mark where the join is in between the 2 sheets, come back, put a bolt here, 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 and so on. I'm also going to put an extra couple where the joins of the sheets touch to make sure that if there's any movement, there's no movement in between the sheets as you walk over them.
The end of another day today. We managed to get all of the flooring down and chuck in all of the T-brackets. That ended up being a decent amount of work, as there's a lot of stuff going on underneath this floor. So we had to work around those, but that's cool. We got there.
Now that we've got everything pre-drilled, next step for us will be to pull everything off, glue everything down, and then bolt it all together.
Alright, so welcome to the underside of the van. This is definitely the least fun part of this job.
Now we're ready to lay the floor down for good. We have our bottom layer, the moisture barrier. Second part, these packers that fill any gaps that the ridges have left out. So we're going to start from the back end. We've pre-drilled all of our sheets. Once we put everything down, it's going to set these packers down, and when we put some glue on, it's going to hold everything in position. Then we're going to put our insulation sheets back on, and we're going to foam around the edges, and that's just going to make a really nice solid seal for the insulation right the way around. And we're going to aim to do that all the way around walls and ceiling as well.
Alright, framing day. It's going to be good fun here today, putting up these walls. It's rainy here in Seattle, so I don't really want to work too much outside. I'm going to try and stay inside. But luckily, I have an extra couple of pairs of helping hands. This here is Ralph. This is Gypsy.
So on the passenger side of the van, we will be having the bed coming along to in front of the wheel wells, and then from then on we will have a bench, and that bench will have the fridge and the stove. So we can go ahead and frame that entire side. On this side, we will be installing a window in these 2 rear panels. We have the bed coming to the end of the wheel well. We will have a bench that will house our sink and anything else we can fit. And then here behind the driver's seat is where we're going to have our bathroom. Alright, so we have the first quarter, you could say, of the framing done. It is the lower half of the passenger side, and I've just fixed it just at the bottom and at the middle. The reason I've broken it down is because this top part is a curve, and it would require a bit more work if you wanted to try and bend a piece and keep the curve. Now to fix these studs into the steel in the wall, I'm using a 1.5 inch wafer head self-drilling screw.
Alright, so we have half of the van done, framing wise. We have here the lower studs. This is where our change of direction is to make it nice and simple. We're only going to have 2 angles. The upper studs here, this is all the passenger side. On the other side, we have the lower portion done on the driver's side. Now I've left this off because both of these panels here are going to have windows put in them a bit later. So because of that, I've left the framing off.
Framing the ceiling is not all that hard. We will be trying to match the height of these beams right the way along, right the way to the front. This is to keep maximum height. So I'm going to strap timber along the sides of all of these, and I'm going to cut out some strips and I'll install them next. But first I thought I'd just show you what I've done here at the back. So the back is different. The back doesn't have a beam, so the height is different. So what I've done is I've transferred with a straight edge along these beams a line, and a line is currently the top of this piece of timber. Then I've taken an offcut of this piece of timber and I've used it as a guide. And you can see if I put it up there, that's our line underneath. So I use that to trace a line. And what that means is it's going to go up one timber length from here up. So what I'll be left with is this nice straight edge, which is the one that I want to keep. And I'll jigsaw that out. Remove these screws and put that up there. And that will be a piece that is flush with the rest of these beams. Here are all my pre-cut roof timbers. Now I'm just going to pre-drill all of them and get some screws set up so they're really nice and easy to clamp in. Yes, we have framing timber installed. So first job for us this morning is to figure out a way to get some framing above this door. So as the door comes out, the framing changes the plane. I don't want to just continue as it was before. I would rather continue this line and keep the line traveling straight through. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to do some sort of packing. I'm going to use this lower rim, pack off that, and then just create a little bit of framing behind there, something to pack off, and then I can continue with these upper studs. So today I have some backup. My partner Megan is here, and she is starting on the foam insulation. What I've asked her to do first though is to fill all of these cavities that we won't be able to get to with the spray foam later. Alright, this side is all finished as far as the packing and the stud work goes. As you can see, all our studs are nice and straight in the same line, the same plane. And what we have done is we have put some packers behind, some angular packers to hold as much as possible. In here there's a bit of variation between stud to stud. That's a bit based on how I packed this out. I've just used what I have available. What that does mean is that this side and this side are a bit different, so that's why I've used two wedges here just to kind of counteract one another to make it nice and easy. Gives me exactly what I want. And we are done with all of the framing. We've finished up these ceiling running boards and they actually came out really good. I'm really happy with how they turned out in the end. Alright, sharp hand now fits in the hole, which is beautiful because that means that we lose the least amount of height.
Alright, as you can see, our walls are taking shape in the shower. So we have some plywood walls up right now, which eventually need to be removed again because we have to put some plumbing and wiring in. But very cool to see it starting to take shape. We will be putting in a skylight. So skylight's gonna go right up in this space here. It's going to allow us some nice natural light. Also we'll have a Nautilus sliding door that'll save on some space and also allow us some natural light while we're showering. All right, as you can see, it's a beautiful sunny day in Seattle. So we're gonna take advantage of the good weather and we're gonna install our 3 solar panels as well as our skylight and our fan. You wanna say what you're doing, Cal?
We are taping up the cut line. This gives me something to draw onto, and it also stops the jigsaw from scratching the roof as we slide along.
So we have a skylight, you can see it right above the shower. We have a fan, you can see that one right up in there. Next step, we're going to map out where all of the wiring is going to go. So we have conduit, we have wires, now we just need to put it all together. So our solar panels will feed out their cables. Where am I? Right here. So they'll come out of these 2 holes, travel over to the charge controller. From there, charge controller goes down to the 2 house batteries, which are gonna live in the back of the van, underneath the bed. And then the power will go both to the inverter, which is gonna live right on top of that tire well, and up to the fuse box. So the fuse box will power most of our 12-volt items. So that's gonna be our lights. We'll have 7 overhead lights, We're gonna have LED strip lights, so those will go underneath the cabinets. So the charge controller and the fuse box will both live in those cabinets. And power down to the oven, which is gonna be 12 volt, as well as the fridge. Fridge will be 110 volt. And then on the other side of the van, we're gonna have a 12 volt plug-in over here that's gonna be for cell phones, just a USB plug there. Traveling forward, a whole bunch of stuff is gonna go in here. So we gotta have our water pump that's gonna live just next to the bed. And next step is the water heater, which is gonna go somewhere in here, as well as the furnace right below. Those are both 12 volt. And our sink lives here. So hopefully everything will be just really good, solid circuit. We're gonna map it out all now, see how it works.
How much do you love wiring at the moment?
So much. All right, it's been a very big day. We have been doing conduit lines for most of the day. So we mapped all of this out yesterday, but running the wires through is a totally different game. So that has taken much longer than we thought it would. Mostly because a lot of these conduit lines are really, really long. They're going from the front of the van almost to the back of the van in some cases. So we had to pull them all out, feed the wire through, put them back on the wall. So it's been a lot of fiddling. So now we're gonna finish doing the driver's side of the van. So as you can see, the passenger side is pretty much fully done. We just haven't wired anything down the driver's side yet. So hopefully only a few more conduit lines so we can call it a day.
There's wire everywhere, but it's all in organized chaos currently. So what we're gonna do next is just tape everything nicely into position so that we can get things ready for foaming.
So we had mail arrive this morning. We have finally received the doors for our gas heating products. We have here a Dometic furnace, 16,000 BTU. Basically means that plenty enough to heat up this small van. We also have a Gerard on-demand tankless gas water heater. And that means that we can just have a shower whenever we like. Hot water is just straight away good to go. So my goal for today, in advance of us putting in the foam insulation, is I need to cut in these doors. So I'm going to check that everything fits. We have both these units. I'm probably going to have to move around a little bit of framing, perhaps cut through this steel and reinforce that slightly, and make sure that both of these units can puncture the outsides for these two doors. Ooh, stressy, stressy. This is the first of our cutout holes on the side of the van. This one here is for our furnace. And once I position this, I can put the door in, which will be amazing. And once the door's in, then I can position the hot water heater, which will go directly above.
All right, first hole cut and not too bad. So on to the second.
All right, so cutting those holes wasn't all that bad, but as you can see, there is a bit of stuff still to go. So this kind of interior support framing, I'm gonna have to cut through and get rid of that, as well as maybe frame around everything just to make sure that when we fire in all the foam, it doesn't turn to crap afterwards.
This tool that I do not know the name of is amazing. It's got this little bladed edge that spins around, and what it does is it takes the rough edge off a freshly cut edge of steel. So Megan is now where the water heater is going to go. As you can see, we've cut out the two holes in the outside of the van, so that's the most stressful part done. Now there's just a little bit of extra framing support steel on the inside that we have to cut through, and then we can silicone these doors on. Amazing.
All right, so we're about to put in the framing for the propane water heater and our furnace. So as you can see, we have these two holes still on the side of the van. So we need to mount those and then put the doors in so we can spray foam.
Alright, so we have our 2 cutout holes, the top one for the on-demand water heater, the bottom one for the furnace. They're all cut out, they're all prepped. Inside we have some framing, basically a frame made out of plywood that will support both of these things and house them inside our cabinetry. Okay, so I have finished folding up my flashings now for my 2 openings on the side. The first flashing I have, this one's been folded up. The purpose of this one is to build out this lower edge here. So I want the seal on my door to have something solid to seal around to. Currently this is recessed a few millimeters, so we're going to put this one in place first. So this guy goes down in there, and that just means that when we silicone everything up, it's going to have a really nice area to fix to. So we will silicone that one on first, kind of glue that in and let that sit for a wee while. The second one I have is a drip tray, or like a sill pan, whatever you guys call it over here. And the purpose of this one is to catch any water in case the water heater leaks at any point in time. And it just means it's going to sit here, feed its way out, which is way better than it just going everywhere and causing chaos in the van. Ready to go for foaming. Last step now is to put this kind of like plasticky stuff up. Turns out it is really expensive to get someone to spray foam your van here in Seattle in America. Others, I don't know if you've had a bit more luck than me, but for me, I'm doing it myself. So in order to do that, first thing we need to do is isolate all the areas that aren't getting foamed and cover them with plastic. Today we are going to attempt to do the spray foaming. There's a couple of things in the way for us, which is the temperature. Both the spray cans and the environment, so the van, need to be at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So somewhere between 21 and 30 degrees Celsius, 70 to 90 Fahrenheit is where we need to be. And currently it's kind of wintry in Seattle, it's cold, so we're not going to get that naturally. So behind me we now have a fully taped up van wherever we need to keep things away and out of foam's reach. And we have our 2 space heaters. So I'm going to close up the van with a bit of ventilation, heat this up for an hour or 2 and try my luck there. And whilst that's happening, I'm going to be giving these gas tanks a bit of a bath. And after what seems like a never-ending cycle of foam, we are finally done in here. Fully foamed up everywhere that needs to be. 2 windows, doesn't need to be foamed right now. And we are ready to start cutting all of this foam back. Alright, so now that we have claimed back these studs behind me, I now have a flat surface that I can work with. So now all I have to do is take this handsaw, run it down the timbers, and with any luck we'll have a really nice, smooth, shaved surface of foam. Okay, so we have finished all the foam finally. It took a lot longer than what I wanted to. Lesson learned, not to do it in the middle of winter. So for me, if I do foaming again, I'm going to make the cutoff something like autumn when the temperatures are nice. But regardless of that, it is really toasty and warm in here. It is raining outside, but we are all well protected. So what we've got here is all of the foam shaved back in line with the framing and nicely in the wall. So wherever you see kind of some wiggles and that kind of stuff, we've built out the foam heavily. So we've done
our 2 big coats of spray foam, which has gone everywhere, so that's given us a minimum of a couple of inches. And then in the big cavities where the windows, the cutouts for the windows would have been, we've really filled that up. So we've got somewhere in the lines of 4 or 5 inches. So super toasty on this side, and that's going to make up for the fact that on this side we're going to have windows. Alright, so today we are chucking up the ceiling. I have some tongue and groove above me here, and as you can see, once we chuck it in, I just have enough space to stand up full height.
Alright, so our ceiling's almost done. We've got just a couple more panels to put into place. Also fitting in the lights, you can see, maybe not there, you can see the dangles here. So we've got one light already in place, which is right here. Still needs to be wired together. Also we need to do the cabinets. So cabinets and walls will be next.
Time now to line the walls with plywood first. That's going to give us something for us to connect all of our cabinetry to. And then we really start kind of building where we're going to house all of our final fittings, like the stove, the fridge, the sink, and just tying it all together.
Tell me what you've been up to today.
I made a wall
It's beautiful.
with a lot of wires coming out of it. We've got now upper conduits with all of our wires. So this is going to be where we're going to house our charge controller and our main fuse panel. We may have another one. Down here is our inverter above the wheel well. Fridge, a 110 volt socket, and all of these will be the switches that will come out the front of this cabinet, so you have easy access to lighting.
Alright, beginning of another beautiful morning. So we are starting to look a bit more like a home in here. Megan has temporarily put some insulation and just foam that in position for now. This is because we keep getting window delays, which is unfortunate, but it's just how it's got to be. So as we're going to try and get on the road and have a little bit of a travel before Christmas, these guys are just going to get insulated. We might put some temporary plywood over there just to keep us nice and toasty over the winter months. And then we'll pull them off and install the windows after Christmas when we can go and pick them up. Progress wise, we have over this side done most of this wall, so the big annoying sheets with all of the conduits and stuff behind, that's all now done. And the one behind our wheel well at the back, I'll show you this beastie. So that's all of our plywood that is difficult and has stuff coming out of it. So remaining are these top ones here, which I should hopefully have with some of my offcuts. One big one above the door, and a couple there at the back, just smaller ones. We are all done with our plywood wall panels. So today the parts that I put in were these pieces at the top, down behind where the sink is going to go. Good place to get rid of some offcuts. And this piece above the door. So what that does for us now is we're in a fully enclosed plywood box. That tank is actually where it's going to be, so that's great. So now I can measure up for all my cabinetry and figure out what's going to happen next as far as how we build the bed, how we build these cabinets here, how we install the sink, fridge, oven, maybe the bin here at the front. So I'm having the afternoon off. I'm going rock climbing, and then I'm going to do some shopping.